We had huge ambitions for American cycling at the 2024 Paris Olympics, and no goal meant more to us than the women's team pursuit. We've gotten silver before, we've gotten bronze before, but never gold. Project 405 started as a project, but then it became an obsession. Ryan's work was critical in transforming our team from being ranked 8th in the world into Olympic champions, and the experience has made us completely rethink the opportunities for Team USA at the LA 28 Summer Olympics.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jim Miller. I'm the Chief of Sports Performance at USA Cycling. I've spent my entire life racing, coaching, and creating winning teams. I've been part of every Olympic campaign since 2004. I've seen firsthand how the sport has evolved through the years, and with Project 405, I now see where the future of the sport is going. Before I let Ryan, our mathematical mastermind of this project, get to the really fun stuff, I want to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. US Cycling is the national governing body for competitive cycling in the United States. We oversee the competitive pathway for all 6 disciplines shown here. Track cycling represents our largest medal opportunity. This makes track racing a critical piece of our high performance plan. And this is exactly why we put so much effort into this Project 405. Olympic cycling in the US faces a unique challenge. We're the only major industrialized nation in the world that does not receive government funding for Olympic sport development. While our competitors like Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand have robust government support, we rely entirely on the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee donations and sponsorships. With these larger budgets, our competition invested in large science and data analysis teams, while we only have Ryan, who operates That's why we have 6 chairs. Ryan operates across our high-performance organization, from strategic medal expectancy modeling to performance analytics to race strategy development. He's a one-person powerhouse, bridging operations, research, and data science. The funding disparity creates a significant obstacles for us. The correlation between funding and Olympic medals and Olympic success is clear. The chart on top shows the US Olympic medal counts closely align with funding levels across sports. In cycling, we've historically performed better than our budget would suggest. However, as more countries target cycling's 66 medals to bolster their medal count at Olympic Games, we have to rely on new approaches and new strategies. The table highlights our funding challenge. For the Paris Games, USA Cycling operated with just $2.8 million in guaranteed funding, much smaller than our competitors, but we still secured 6 medals. For the last 2 Olympic cycles, we've seen a consistent pattern from other nations, approximately $1 million per year per medal. So what made our approach different? Our financial reality forced us to be smarter, more efficient, more innovative. We couldn't outspend our competition, but we could be more strategic. However, it took a wake-up call for us to get there.
Yeah, they're off to a flying start again. New Zealand already 2 seconds up on the USA.
Here, the New Zealanders will have the Americans in their sight.
You can see the time differences with the US.
With the USA, there's a 4:12.6, so that is slower than the time of Italy, 4:11.3, and slower than the time of Australia, 4:12.5, so they will not race for bronze.
As you saw in the video, the 2023 World Championships in Glasgow served as our wake-up call. On paper, we had an extremely strong team, very good pedigree, but pedigrees don't win medals, performances do. Our women's team pursuit squad finished 6th with a time of 4 minutes, 12.684 seconds, missing a bronze medal round by just 0.159 seconds. The truth was, it was far worse than that says. At the halfway point, we were more than 4 seconds down to New Zealand before New Zealand let off the gas and backed off and saved their energy for the final medal round. After the World Championships, we dropped to 8th in the global rankings, and our internal ELO-based medal probability modeling gave us only a 10% chance of winning. Meanwhile, countries like New Zealand, Great Britain dominated the medal probabilities above 60%. With only months until Paris, the gap seemed almost unbridgeable. And now I'm going to hand it over to Ryan to talk about how we turned that wake-up call into a blueprint for a comeback.
To create a path forward, we needed to understand the technical foundations of success in team pursuit. This meant diving deep into the physics, the physiology, and the tactical elements that could deliver seconds or fractions of a second, often the difference between obscurity and victory in our sport. Our analysis of historical data revealed something compelling. When you examine podium and gold medal times from previous championships, normalized for environmental conditions such as altitude, temperature, and humidity, a clear target emerged. The left chart shows medal contention would require a time of approximately 4 minutes and 7 seconds, while the chart on the right indicated that a gold medal performance would require a finish time of 4:05, given the expected conditions in Paris. This became our North Star. Project 405 was born. Our initial rudimentary analysis showed that despite our 6th place finish in Glasgow, with comprehensive optimizations, a time of 4:05 was theoretically possible. Ambitious? Yeah. But the data suggested it was achievable. I presented this preliminary analysis to Jim in November of 23 as Project 405, and it was convincing enough for him to allocate a substantial portion of our budget towards not just medaling in team pursuit, but in his words, let's go out and win this whole thing. Before we dive into the specifics of the race and our modeling approach, we need to understand some fundamentals behind the physics of cycling. At 60 kilometers an hour, aerodynamic drag accounts for over 90% of the resistive forces acting on a cyclist. This means that 90% of the power that an athlete produces goes to overcoming this force. As you can see in the chart, the blue line represents rolling resistance, and this is extremely minimal compared to the red aerodynamic power line. This became central to our optimization approach, because even small aerodynamic improvements could yield significant performance gains. The relationship between speed and power is cubic, so it takes approximately 9% more power at race speeds to achieve just a 3% velocity increase. With new technology, we can influence CDA, or the coefficient of drag multiplied by an athlete's frontal area. This is a linear relationship, so a 10% reduction results in a direct 10% power savings at any speed. While the frontal area is a fairly trivial measurement, the coefficient of drag is typically something we measure in the wind tunnel or with special speed sensors and airspeed sensors on the track during testing. Historically, CDA and aerodynamic testing have been an area where we made outsized gains compared to the competition. But as we saw in Paris, aerodynamic optimizations are now table stakes across the board. First, a big warning, do not try this at home. But what you're seeing here illustrates an incredible importance of aerodynamics in cycling. Notice how the rider in an obviously comical and extremely unsafe position without pedaling easily passes riders going all out in a standard position. This demonstration reinforces a critical principle. At race speeds, aerodynamic optimization is often more impactful than raw power output. Team pursuit is track cycling's ultimate tactical race, requiring perfect team synchronization. Let me highlight 5 key elements that make it so challenging. First, riders cover 4 kilometers at speeds in excess of 60 kilometers an hour. As I've explained, aerodynamics dominates at these speeds. Second, while 4 riders start, only 3 must finish. Typically, you'll see a team's most fatigued rider fall off during the race when they can no longer keep pace with the rest of the team. However, this also creates a potential for strategic drop opportunity. Third, the lead rider at any given point faces the full aerodynamic resistance, necessitating carefully planned rotations to distribute the workload. Fourth, riders must balance energy conservation with optimal speed. Spending too long at the front at too high a speed can deplete a rider's energy beyond what they can recover in other positions. Fifth, skill and precision matter when every 10th of a second counts. Riding the black line minimizes the total distance traveled. Every wooden board above the black line adds 10 centimeters per lap. Additionally, riding in tight formation maximizes the draft effect of the riders not in the lead position. The red lines on the image depict airflow around the riders. The percentages represent the aerodynamic resistance subsequent riders face during the effort, which we'll explain in this video. This is a training camp 2 months before the Olympics. As you can see firsthand, the mechanics of team pursuit. The race starts with an initial surge of power as athletes accelerate up to speed. The front rider has the highest power output while the others follow closely to benefit from the draft effect. Position matters tremendously. The lead rider experiences less drag than riding alone because following riders reduce some of the vortices that normally create drag. The third position is actually the most aerodynamically sheltered. experiencing just 59% of normal drag, while the fourth rider faces a slight increase to 61% due to experiencing drag vortices as separated air comes back together. We optimize each rider's position based on their individual strengths and unique aerodynamic profiles. You just saw how rotations occur at the half-lap turns where the track banks steeply. This allows the lead rider to roll up the track and use gravity to help pull them back in with less effort. Beyond aerodynamics, we also needed to understand and model physiological constraints of the athlete. Our energy management model is based on a metric called functional reserve capacity, or FRC, which you can conceptualize as an athlete's battery with a finite capacity. When leading in either the first or second position, riders deplete this energy faster than they can recover. When riding in position 3 or 4, athletes can slightly recover and reconstitute some of their lost energy. This becomes crucial for our optimization framework, allowing us to account for individual athlete differences in recovery rates and capacities. The graph shows the results of a race model from the perspective of a rider who starts in the second position. Note how the blue energy line steadily decreases during high power efforts as the rider moves to the front, but can partially recover during periods of lower power output as they are in position 3 or position 4. At the heart of our Project 405 was our optimization framework. This comprehensive approach integrated race strategy, rider metrics, selection process, and race day execution into a cohesive system of optimization, simulation, and individual goal setting. The flow diagram represents our comprehensive analytical framework that transformed our team's performance. Once we had our benchmark 405 target time, using the process illustrated in the upper left, we set out to build our complete optimization framework. The framework has 4 main components. First, at the heart of is the race strategy mixed integer programming model. This is the mathematical engine of our project. Second is our optimal rider metrics simulation framework. Here we define gold medal athlete profile by systematically varying parameters such as aerodynamic drag, critical power, functional reserve capacity, and the ability to accelerate up to speed. This allowed us to establish clear medal-capable performance benchmarks for our athletes. Third is our athlete selection process. We tracked each rider's metrics relative to our gold standard profile using z-scores, allowing us to objectively evaluate their capabilities and progress. Additionally, we used the MIP model to evaluate possible race finish times for various rider team combinations, all of which we presented to the Olympic Selection Committee, who has the ultimate say in team selection. Fourth, all of this analysis translated into training and race day strategy optimization. Everything from determining optimal rider order, precisely timing rotations, planning when, if and when to drop a fourth rider, to establishing lap-by-lap speed targets were driven by the model. A continuous feedback loop ensured that race results and training data consistently refined our model, improving its accuracy as we approached the Olympics. This framework guided every decision in the run-up to the Olympic Games right through race day in Paris. Now let's dive deeper into the mixed integer programming model itself. At its core, our objective function was straightforward. Minimize the total race finishing time plus the time it takes for riders' rotation switches to occur. Additionally, we added a penalty for using emergency energy reserves. The decision variable in our model, shown on the bottom right, mapped out every possible combination of rider, position, speed, and lap segment. The first constraints in our model enforce the fundamental rules of team pursuit racing, requiring that every rider must occupy exactly one position at one speed per lap segment. And certain positions, specifically P1, P2, and P3, must always be filled. We also ensure that a rider who enters the drop position can never rejoin the race. Moreover, all riders maintain the same speed. The model's power lies in how it integrates both the tactical race structure and the physiological realities of each athlete, allowing us to explore optimal strategies that would be impossible to discover through training alone. The rotation strategy is where team pursuit becomes truly tactical. Our model captured these dynamics in detail. When a rider is in the lead position, P1, they face 4 possible transitions every half-lap segment. They can stay in P1 for another segment, drop out of the race or enter the DP position, move back to the formation in P4, or in certain cases, move to P3 if another rider has already dropped. For riders in the other positions, the transitions are more limited. The following positional constraints ensure that all riders either stay in their current position or move up into the next position to stay in sync with any P1 transitions. The model tracks, position switches with a binary indicator variable, so we can add the time to switch into the objective function. Finally, we enforced the rule that all non-dropped riders must switch positions together. This maintains the integrity of the synchronization of the formation as riders rotate through their positions. The physiological elements of our model translated raw physics in the realm of human performance with the following constraints. Each rider must produce a certain amount of power to overcome both aerodynamic drag and rolling resistance to maintain a given speed. As we saw earlier, the power required varies dramatically based on the rider's position in the formation due to aerodynamic drag effects. Our model incorporated a sophisticated energy management system based on each athlete's functional reserve capacity. When a rider produces power above their critical power, they deplete their FRC. This happens most rapidly when leading in P1, where aerodynamic drag is the highest. Conversely, when a rider's power output drops below their CP20, typically when they're drafting in P3 or P4, they begin to reconstitute some of their energy reserves. This recovery doesn't happen instantaneously, but follows a bi-exponential pattern with fast and slow components, unique to each athlete based on their physiological profile. Finally, each rider starts with a specific FRC, which is tracked and tested throughout their training and racing. By accurately representing these physiological constraints, our model could find rotations that perfectly balanced each rider's strengths, recovery patterns, and maximized overall performance. To ensure our solution remained physiologically valid, we implemented tight constraints on energy utilization. No rider can have negative FRC before the end of the contribution of the race. In other words, you can't completely deplete a rider's energy reserves mid-race, as this would result in a catastrophic drop in pace. The second constraint allows for controlled emergency reserves allocation. This represents the reality that athletes can push slightly beyond their normal limits in competition settings, especially in the final moments of a race. However, we heavily penalize the use of these reserves in our objective function to ensure they were only tapped when absolutely necessary. With the model in place, we can now optimize every aspect of race execution, from rider order rotation timing to strategic drop decision, all while respecting the physiological capabilities of our athletes. Building trust in our analytical approach was crucial to getting buy-in from both coaches, athletes, and directors. To validate our model, we compared predicted times against actual race times across multiple competitions by fixing the rotation schedule of the actual race. As shown in the left chart, our model achieved remarkable accuracy, typically within 1% of the actual race times over 11 elite level competitions spanning from Tokyo Olympics 2021 through Paris 2024. The blue circles represent the absolute time difference in seconds, while the red boxes show percentage differences. For earlier competitions in 2021 and 2022, the model often underestimated finish times, as indicated by the negative values. This was primarily due to incomplete athlete physiological data and less refined aerodynamic measurements. As our data collection improved, so did our model's accuracy. The right graph shows even more granular validation from the 2023 Glasgow World Championships, comparing modeled speed versus actual speed on a lap-by-lap basis. The close alignment between the blue modeled speed and the red actual speed line confirmed our model was capturing the dynamics of the race with high fidelity. To create buy-in, we discussed the model and framework in detail with every athlete individually and as a collective team. All athletes, coaches, directors, and leadership knew the goals, the targets, and the expectations. In a sport where tradition and intuition often drive decision-making, our data-driven validation was essential for persuading the team to adopt what initially seemed like a counterintuitive strategy. With our mathematical model validated and the team's trust secured, we turned our focus to transforming these insights into athletic reality. Implementation required not just technical prowess, but also effective collaboration with coaches and athletes. Through extensive simulation runs of our model framework, we established clear benchmarks for the critical performance metrics. These weren't arbitrary targets, but precise thresholds that, when met, would produce our target 4:05 finishing time. As shown in the table, our simulations define specific values required for both podium contention and gold medal performance. We continuously tracked each athlete using Z-scores against these benchmarks, which eliminated subjective bias, provided transparent justification for our team selection. It gave athletes clear, personalized targets for improvement rather than generic performance goals. We also used the model throughout the selection process to compare predicted finish times and optimal race strategies, which could often vary significantly across potential team configurations. The rigorous analysis ultimately led us to assemble our gold medal dream team of Jennifer Valente, Chloe Dygert, Lily Williams, and Kristen Faulkner, each selected for their complementary metrics and optimal team dynamics. With athlete selection complete, we implemented a comprehensive training system guided by analytical insights. Every aspect of preparation was monitored and optimized. Through continuous physiological measurement, power meter data analysis, and regular lab testing, we created a closed-loop feedback between the model predictions and on-track performance. The dashboard shown illustrates how we tracked each athlete metrics against their gold medal standards. For athlete 4, we indicated clear priority areas, improving Pmax, or acceleration power, by 10% or 100 watts, and reducing CDA from 0.173 to 0.168, a 3% improvement, through aerodynamic position refinements. Meanwhile, this athlete's critical power and FRC values already exceeded our gold medal thresholds, so these areas only required maintenance work. This approach allowed each athlete to focus on their specific limiting factors while knowing these improvements would directly enhance overall team performance. Given that aerodynamic drag accounts for 90% of the power requirements at race speeds, equipment optimization represented a crucial opportunity for performance gains. We partnered with Vortex Sports for an intensive aerodynamic development program across the entire Olympic cycle. This process began with a 3D body scanning of potential team members, creating digital models that allowed us to virtually test before physical prototypes were created. For 2 athletes, we created physical 3D mannequins, enabling continuous wind tunnel testing even when athletes themselves weren't available. This accelerated our development cycle dramatically. Through 19 skin suit iterations, each with unique fabric, seam placement, and pressure mapping specific to the athlete's body shape and riding position, we achieved remarkable improvements. Our final prototype reduced one athlete's CDA by over 9%. Now let's examine how our modeling and analytical framework transformed a seemingly distant contender into Olympic champions on race day, delivering not just a gold medal, but a monumental leap in performance in only 11 months.
Oh, there's a crash right around the turn. It's going to split the field. Oh, no! She goes down. United States, can they keep it going? Can they keep it together? Still just under half a second. One more run for Great Britain, Josie Knight. Just like the contest there, but now that, here we go. Is it going to be the United States of Great Britain to the gold medal race? It is so close. It is the United States on the narrowest of margins. Heart-stopping surge for a gold medal, curving around the final corner.
I get a little goosebumpy. Now onto the race strategy itself. This visualization shows position profiles for the USA and New Zealand during the gold medal final. Each line represents a rider's position over race distance, with position 0 indicating a dropped rider. Our MIP-created strategy featured several distinct advantages. First, Jennifer Valente, our 4-time Olympic medalist and arguably the best female endurance track cyclist of her generation, started in P1, leveraging her exceptional acceleration and sustained power during the crucial early phase. This established an early lead while simultaneously allowing other riders to recover from the intense start. New Zealand, by contrast, positioned their strongest rider in P4. Second, Jennifer executed a strategic drop after her second long pull at the front, a little over halfway through the race. This counterintuitive tactic is visible on the top left of the chart where the rider 1's line drops to the 0. Typically, riders fall off due to fatigue versus our all-out planned degradation of energy reserves. Third, the model positioned our lowest FRC rider to start in position 4, maximizing early recovery as she didn't rotate to the front until a third of the way through the race. Fourth, we implemented more frequent rotations in New Zealand in the second half, executing 5 rotations to their 3. This additional exchanges provided crucial recovery periods that maintained our power and pace through the final kilometer. Fifth, all pull durations were optimized based on each rider's unique physiology rather than following standard patterns. The brilliance of this strategy became evident when New Zealand was forced to have a single lead rider for approximately 750 meters, visible in Rider 4's chart, in an attempt to close the time gap. This depleted their energy reserves and contributed to their eventual defeat. The culmination of Project 405 was nothing short of extraordinary. In just 11 months, we transformed a team that finished 6th in the 2023 World Championships into Olympic champions. Our final time of 404.306 set a new American record and surpassed even our ambitious 405 target. This represented an improvement of over 8 seconds from our 2023 performance, virtually unheard of in elite cycling. More impressively, we defeated the world's top 2 ranked teams in New Zealand and Great Britain, both of which had dominated this event for years with significantly larger budgets and resources. The victory marked our first ever Olympic gold medal in women's team pursuit for the United States and the second ever track cycling gold in our history. In a sport often defined by millimeter margins and thousands of a second differences, our 8-second improvement through analytical optimization stands as a testament to the power of operations research when applied with precision and dedication. To fully appreciate how we achieved this, let's break down the cumulative impacts of Project 405. Starting from our 412.684 baseline from the 2023 World Championships, each component of our optimization framework contributes specific measurable time savings. Aerodynamic position improvements through wind tunnel testing and equipment refinement yielded 0.7 seconds. This is particularly impressive given that all equipment must be homologated, which means it has to be approved a full year before the Olympic competition, meaning these gains were actually driven through only minor athlete position adjustments. Data-driven athlete selection based on our optimal metrics framework contributed 2.1 seconds, highlighting how critical it was to have the right athletes in the right roles, rather than simply selecting riders with the highest individual power outputs. Our profile-driven training program, targeting each athlete's specific limiting factors, added another 2.2 seconds of improvement. And our MIP-based race strategy, with its optimized rotation patterns and strategic rider drop, delivered another 1.918 seconds of pure tactical advantage. And finally, environmental conditions in the Paris velodrome, which we modeled in advance of each round, resulted in a 1.46 second difference when you compare it to Glasgow. Together, these elements transformed a 6th-place team into Olympic champions, with 74% of the improvement attributable to our modeling and analytics. What's remarkable is that no single factor delivered the entire improvement. It was a comprehensive integration of multiple optimization approaches that created our winning formula. This accomplishment is even more remarkable given the challenges we faced. With USA Cycling's limited budget, I was the only analytics professional on the project. This has capped our amount of modeling we could do. Early on, there was skepticism about hitting 405 target. But once athletes and coaches saw the data play out in training and racing, trust followed. We had to juggle individual training, limited team camps, and riders' professional team obligations. This was their first time truly competing together, and with less training time than any of the other competitors. 2 key athletes came in with lower power numbers than they had in Glasgow, so strategy had to carry even more weight. And despite 3 of our 4 athletes crashing before the race, Chloe having 2 just days before in Paris, modeling showed that the goal was possible. And in the end, operations research and a resilient team made the impossible possible.
After crashing in the road race and the time trial in Paris, the team pursuit was a little uncertain for me, but because of the support and the confidence that USA Cycling had in me and the whole team, the project model still had us running a 4:05. We ran our qualifying run, and not only was it doable, it was real. We've never won gold in the team pursuit before at the Olympic Games, so it meant so much to us. And yes, it takes motors to run that time, but obviously we had to know it was possible, and knowing it was possible is because of the support that we've had from this analysis that has been run.
Beyond the gold medal itself, Project 405 has opened doors to broader impact across Olympic sports. USA Cycling's overall medal count doubled from Tokyo 2021 to Paris 2024, from 3 medals to 6, including 3 gold. This success has attracted significant attention from other cycling disciplines and the broader Olympic community. We are now expanding model applications across other cycling events, including track sprint, BMX, time trial, and road disciplines. Each represents unique challenges, but the core methodology of integrating physics, physiology, and tactics remains applicable. Even more exciting is the extension of our approach to other Olympic sports and national governing bodies, who have approached us about adapting our optimization framework to their unique context. Financially, our success has unlocked additional USOPC funding with an over 50% budget increase, creating a cycle where our analytics drives financial resources that enable further innovations. Finally, our data-driven approach has attracted new sponsorship opportunities from technology-focused partners like OpenAI, Strava, and Silicon Valley investors, who recognize the value of sophisticated analytics in sports performance. The picture you see encapsulates what Project 405 ultimately represents. It's not just a gold medal, but a transformation of how USA Cycling approaches elite performance. Project 405 exemplifies the power of operations research to deliver concrete, measurable results in the highly competitive world of Olympic sport. From rigorous mathematical modeling to meticulous implementation, our analytical approach turns seemingly impossible goals into golden reality. Before Brendan closes us out, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity, and I'm excited about what everybody's going to see at the 2028 LA Games.
Project 405 transformed USA Cycling. It proved that analytics and operations research aren't just tools, they're our competitive advantage. This initiative didn't only help us secure Olympic gold, it revolutionized how we identify potential, allocate resources, and prepare athletes for peak performance. On behalf of USA Cycling, thank you for recognizing our efforts to push boundaries and set new benchmarks for the future of Olympic sport.